Well, uh, welcome everyone. I'm Mariona from the City Council. Welcome to this webinar about taxes, how to file your taxes and how does income tax in Spain works. This is a webinar organized by the City Council, by the International Welcome Program, which is the resource that the City Council offers for internationals who have arrived to Barcelona to live and work in our city. And people that maybe need some practical information about how to live and work, like for instance, taxes. So that's why we are organizing this webinar in collaboration with the law firm Pomeral Legal Partners. Here we have two expert lawyers in international law and international taxation who will guide us how to file your taxes. Just let me explain you how this will work. First, we will have the presentation, and at the end of the presentation, it will be the time to answer the questions. Mar and Marilo, who are the lawyers, will be answering your questions with the help also of Pedro Arralda, who will help them to read the questions in the chat, because we ask you not to use your mics because there's a lot of people in the webinar. So please use the chat for your questions. And at the end of the presentation, we will be answering them. And also just let you know that this webinar is being recorded. So we will edit it, and in some days we will send the recording of the webinar as well as the PowerPoint presentation. We will send it to all the people who signed up for this webinar. So, well, let me thank you, Mar and Marilo, for helping us in this webinar. And help you. Thank you everyone for joining, and we hope this is very useful for you. So Marilo, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mariona, for introduction and to give to us the opportunity to do this webinar. Well, I'm Mar Pomerol, I'm lawyer, expert in international private law, and also I am the CEO of Pomerol Legal Partners. That is a legal study all about for foreign people, or maybe people that want to live here in Barcelona. I'm here with me, I'm my colleague Marilo. Marilo, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming for that webinar. My name is Marilo. I'm the tax lawyer expert, and mainly in experts or individuals came into Spain, and I help them with the tax matters and any other things.
So maybe we can begin with our presentation that we have prepared just for this occasion. So we can go ahead with the first clip of that PowerPoint. Okay, first of all, here in this webinar, we will talk about, as you can see, that different points. First of all, tax residency. What's a tax residency and what are the requirements to be considered a Spanish tax residency? Like one, the obligation for residents and residents, just to see the difference. Also, the personal income and tax general system. This is very important because it's a mandatory that any person that who is a Spanish tax resident need to do once per year. Also, all the tax form due dates. Also, we will speak about Beckham law system. Why? Because it's very important to speak about it. Because a lot of people that come to Spain to live here can be assisted by the Beckham law. So we'll trade in this webinar. And finally, what is the procedure to the income tax return? So let's go ahead with the tax residency. Oops. Oh, I see something in the chat. My God.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
echo.
No? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Mar, but if you speak a little slower, I think it would be more clear.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, let's begin with the important thing. Tax residency. When does a person become a tax resident in Spain? Well, if you see, under the Spanish law, and we say Spanish law, under the Article 9 of the Personal Income Tax Law, it comes to Ley de IRPF, a person becomes a tax resident in Spain if any of the following conditions are met during the calendar year. And we said it begins on the 1st of January and it will end on the 31st of December. And we have three different criteria. The first one criteria, it's a physical presence, more than 183 days in Spain. If you are considered as, you can be considered an Spanish tax resident if you spend more than 183 days in Spain during a single calendar day. It means, again, 183 days and don't need to be consecutive and includes temporary absences, for example, vacations abroad, are counted as time in Spain unless you can prove that you have another kind tax residency in another country. For example, if you arrive in Spain on March 1st and remain on December 15th, you will exceed 183 days. So you will become a Spanish tax resident, unless you can prove that you have a specific certificate that you are a Spanish tax resident, tax resident in another country. The second criteria is about economic center of interest. It's a letter B. Even if you don't spend 183 days here in Spain, you may be considered as a resident if your main economic interests are located in Spain. This includes owning or managing a business in Spain, receiving the majority of your income from Spanish sources, managing investments or real estate based in Spain. Let's go ahead with another example. If you live in Portugal, but run a company based in Madrid and receive the 90% of your income from Spain's clients, you may still be considered a Spanish tax resident. And the last case is letter C, family ties, presumption of residency, we call here in Spain. If your spouse, not legally separate, very important, and or minor children live in Spain, it is presumed that you are also a tax resident, unless you prove that you are a tax resident in another site, in another country. Another example, you live and work in the UK, but your partner and your children are living here in Barcelona. The tax authority may consider you are a Spanish tax resident, unless you prove that you have strong documentation that you are paying your taxes in the UK and you need to pay taxes in the UK instead of in Spain. But, okay, we have three different criteria, but what happens if you are resident in two countries? If you meet residence criteria and in two countries, for example, you do your work in a country, but your family is living here in Barcelona, the situation is governed by double taxes agreement, okay? We will see the double tax agreement, we will call it DTA, between Spain and that country. How we use the DTA? Well, uses the three-breaker rules to determine residency based on permanent home, center of vital interest, economic interest, habitual residence, nationality, and also mutual agreement between authorities if the conflict persists. So when a client comes to us, it's very important to study the situation about the taxes. It means to see which countries are involved in his or her tax situation, to see if there's any kind of the T, and study if there's some things about some mechanisms for not paying taxes in both countries. So if we go ahead with the following slide, we can see some tax implications of becoming a Spanish tax resident. Thank you so much. So, okay, telling that finally you are a Spanish tax resident, perfect. And what it means, if you are a resident tax in Spain, it means that you are taxes on your worldwide income under IRPF. Remember, IRPF is the tax that you pay once per year, okay? In the day that we will see in next slides. So the thing here is that all your gains will be declared under IRPF, Spanish Personal Income Tax. You may be required to file Model 100. That's the annual return, and Model 720 if you hold assets abroad over than 50,000 euros, very important. And another thing, and another question that a lot of our clients ask to us, how can you prove that you are a Spanish tax resident? To be officially recognized as a Spanish tax resident, the primary way to prove it is by obtaining a tax residency certificate used by the Spanish tax agency. The Spanish name is Agencia Tributaria. So, ways to prove it. First of all, a Spanish tax resident certificate. It's very important. Why? Because this is the official document used to confirm that a person is considered as a Spanish tax resident in Spain under the domestic law and were applicable under a double taxation agreement. It's used upon request by the Spanish tax agency, either online through the electronic platform or in person. So that's why that we always ask to our clients if they have a digital certificate. If not, we can provide it. Why? Because a lot of taxes are managed using this digital certificate. The certificate specifies that the person is physically in Spain for a specific tax year. And it's often used to claim benefits under a DTA, avoid double taxation or withholding abroad, and prove residency to foreign tax authorities or financial institutions. But we have another ways to prove it, that we are a Spanish tax resident. For example, the municipal registration certificate, called to empadronamiento, lease agreement or property deed in Spain, enrollment in a Spanish social security system, utility bills, for example, electricity, water, internet, have a Spanish bank account statement showing a regular activity, using a Spanish personal income tax filing, for example, the Model 100, or maybe a school enrollment certificate for children in Spain, or employment or service contract with Spanish entities. But another thing that we need to speak about is what happens if another country considers us as a tax resident. In cases of conflict, are applicable the double taxation agreement, DTA, between Spain and the other country, will just to see how we can resolve the issue thing called the breaker rules. The Spanish tax residency certificate is the standard document submitted to foreign tax authority to assert your Spanish tax residency and avoid being taxed twice. Tax obligation in Spain. Let's speak about the difference to be a Spanish tax resident and be a non-resident. Okay, we are in this phase. Perfect. So, sorry. Okay, when we are a Spanish tax resident, what we need to pay? This is the best important question. A tax resident in Spain, see criteria explained previously, is subject to personal income tax, as we said, IRPF, on the worldwide income. What includes worldwide income? Income subject to taxation, salaries and wages from Spanish and foreign employers. Income from real estate in Spain and abroad. Dividends, interest, and capital gains. Business and professional income. Pensions, whether public or private, don't mind. Tax obligations. First of all, as we spoke, file annual personal income tax return. We said Model 100, usually from April to January. Declare worldwide assets, if applicable via Model 720, informative declaration of foreign assets over 50,000 euros, and Model D6 or Model 714, depending on the thresholds. Pay tax according to the progressive rates, and maybe you can be required to make quarterly tax payment if you are self-employed, or maybe if you have a company. But if you are self-employed, you need to introduce quarterly two models. Well, Model 130 or maybe 131, it depends. And double taxation relief is available under Spain's tax treaties with more than 90 countries. And what about if you are a non-tax resident in Spain? Well, non-tax residents in Spain are only taxed here on the money which resource is in Spain. Income taxes, rental income from property located in Spain, capital gains from sale of property of shares in a Spanish, no, sorry, selling shares from a Spanish company, interest, dividends, or royalties from Spanish payers, or maybe income from work performed in Spain. And how to pay that? Very easy. In that case, we need to introduce before the Spanish tax agency a model called 210, periodically or annually, depending on the income time, and also pay flex tax rates, which vary depending on the type of income and taxpayer country residency. And how much? Could be 24% for most income, or maybe 19% for EU residents on interest, dividends, and gains. You don't need to declare all your gains in the worldwide and don't need to fill Model 720 or Model 100. So in summary table, because we know that there's a lot of information. When you are a tax resident, you need to declare all worldwide income. If you are a non-resident, you need to declare just the Spanish resource income only. The main tax, in case of resident, it's IRPF. In case of non-resident, it's non-resident income tax. Forms, in case for resident, Model 100, 720, 714, and in some cases, if you are self-employed, 130 and 131, it depends. If you are a non-resident, only for 210. Tax rate, it depends, could be up to until 47%, and non-resident could be between 19% to 24%. When you need to declare, if you are a tax resident, you need to declare all your foreign assets, and it's not applicable in case that you are a non-resident. About what happens with double taxation. Well, as we said, if you are a tax resident, you're covered. You can be covered by DTA, but with not more than a Spanish tax resident. One more. Okay, let's talk about the following slide. Okay, this is about what we'll declare. Perfect. So here we can see an example of what's Model 100. Model 100 is the official Spanish personal income tax, that IRPF. It must be filed annually by all Spanish tax residents to declare their worldwide income earned during the previous calendar year. Okay. When it's filed, typical filing period between April to June of the following year. For example, now we will declare all our income obtained in 2024. And how can we fill? Very easy. By Spanish Tax Agency online portal, using the Spanish Tax Agency mobile app, and finally through an accountant or maybe collaborating bank or tax office. And who is required to fill this Model 100? It's required by anyone considered for sure a Spanish tax resident who meets certain income thresholds must file. Generally, for example, if you earn over 22,000 euros for a single employee or payer, or if you earn over 15,000 from multiple payers, if the second payer provide to you more than 1,500 euros, or you earn a rental income, dividends, interest, or self-employed income, or maybe you sold real estate, shares, cryptos, or had other capital gains, or maybe you wish to claim deductions, for example, children, mortgage, maternity, donations, etc. So, what types of income must be declared? Employment income, it means salaries, pensions, benefits. rental income from Spanish or foreign properties, investment income, dividends, interest, royalties. 4, self-employment or professional income. 5, capital gain losses from selling properties, shares, or cryptos. 6, imputed income, for example, imputed income from second residences. And the good question. Okay, perfect. You know all the things that you need to declare, but how much it costs it? How to calculate the tax? Okay, all the income is added together. Allowed deductions, reductions, and tax credit are applied. So it's very important that we need to study every single case. And the remaining taxable base is subject to progressive tax rates, ranging from approx from 19% to 47%, depending on the autonomous region. So, what's the thing here? The outcome may be to pay if tax is due, or to be refunded if you overpay paid, and you can say that the Spanish tax agency can return to you money. Important thing here, penalties for not filing more than 100 because it's a mandatory. If I late without a prior request, can be some surcharges applied from 1% to 15%. If there was a prior request or unpaid tax, penalties can charge from 50% to 150% of the tax due. And light interest may also apply. So, in a quick summary, we can see that it required, for Spanish tax, it required to pay more than 100 for Spanish tax residents with certain income level. You need to declare worldwide income for the previous calendar year. The filing period will be between April and June of the following year. For use will be more than 100. The filing frequency is annually, and how to file. You can file it online using an application, tax advisor, or maybe a collaborating bank. And outcome could be payable or maybe refundable. And for example, we can see here in the slip the amounts that we apply different. If the amount, and we can see if the amount is 6,000, the tax will be 1,140. So that's why we will apply 21%. But between the second scale, we will see that the tax will be the 23%. But in the following scale, that is 200,000, the tax that we need to apply is 27%. And finally, we can see that if the amount is in the scale of 300,000, the tax to be applied will be 28%. Okay. So this is about the model 100 and the different scales. Oh, about the tax forms and due dates. Okay, we'll have spoken about different tax model. So as we said, the IRPF, that annually tax need to be paid between 1st of April to 30th of June. Okay, and remember, gains obtained last year, women, we declare this 2025, but for the gains obtained in 2024. Also, what about that model 720? That's the model to declare all your worldwide gains outside Spain from 1st of March to 30th of March. And finally, about the inheritance tax, you have only 3 months within this date. Okay. Following slide. Here you can see how to pay, how to do this form using this online website. Okay, you can click here, you can find it, and here this QR is to download the application to pay taxes smoothly in your bed or maybe in a weekend. Okay, because the important thing is to do the mandatory to pay taxes. And if we go in the following slide, okay, here is the website. Okay, and we need to go here, get your reference number. Okay, and put all the incomes, the numbers, and the deductions. Another important thing here, one moment, sorry, it's about what are the informative tax returns in Spain. Because in Spain, informative tax returns are tax forms that not necessarily result in a tax payment, but are mandatory for reporting specific financial information to the Spanish tax authorities. Failure to file properly can lead to significant penalties, even if no tax is due. So that's why to us it's very important to do Model 720. Why? Because it's the declaration of foreign assets for that Spanish tax resident that we said that they have assets abroad with a total value over 50,000 euros. And if any of the following categories: bank accounts, real estate, securities, or shares, including cryptocurrencies, if held through foreign platforms. Important. And when, as we said, from the first, during all the month of March, declaring assets held as of December 31st of the previous year. And is it annual? You only need to file again if you have a new category of asset over 50,000 euros, or maybe the value of a previously declared category increased by more than 20,000 euros, okay? And what about the penalty risk? Penalty risk for later incorrectly filling used to be extremely high because we're moderated after EU ruling, still sanctions may apply if not filled properly. And another model that we spoke about was the model G6, that declaration of foreign securities about investment performance. And funny to find it, Spanish tax resident who hold foreign securities, shares or investment funds outside Spain, particularly in foreign brokers or platforms. When fill it annually in January, reporting holdings as of December 21st. And note that this model has been largely replaced or surprised by model 721 for cryptocurrencies, but may still be relevant for some holdings. And what about that model 721? It's a declaration of virtual currencies abroad, very important, from 2023 onward. Who files it? Spanish tax resident, again, who hold cryptocurrencies stored in foreign wallets or exchanges with a value over 50,000 euros. When filed annually, and the deadline aligns with model 720, it means from January to March. And know that even if no gains are realized, this model is purely informative. Failure to file may still trigger fines. I'm not interested in what. That's all. So in a summary table of these models that we have spoken now, in model 720, you need to declare foreign assets, accounts, real estate, securities. But the value is more than 50,000 euros per category when from January to March, based on December 31st. Model D6, you need to declare foreign securities, any amount, historical, when in January. And finally, about the model 721, it's to declare cryptocurrencies held abroad, which values more than 50,000 euros, when from January to March, as well as model 720. Let's see the following. Okay, so now it's time to speak about the Beckham law. So Marilo, if you want to go ahead with it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mar. Okay, the special tax system that we call Beckham law because the law was made when the football player Beckham came to Spain. Is a special tax system that only applies for the tax resident in Spain, which means that people that came to Spain in, let's say, in the first semester of the year. So, and if they stay until, so if a person arrives to Spain today is 12th of May, okay? And this person remains in Spain until the 31 of December. For the year 2025, this person will be tax resident in Spain. So he has the opportunity to apply for the Beckham law system for the year 2025 and the following 5 years. If the second example, if a person arrives the 12th of September in 2025, so this person in 2025 will remain tax resident in the country of origin, and he will apply for the Beckham law for the following years, 26 and the following 5 years. Okay. So this is this system is a special system that the person that can apply is a person that has not been resident in Spain in the previous 5 years. So if you arrive in 2025, it means that from the year 2020 until the year, 2029 until the year 2024, so you have not been tax resident in Spain. It's nothing to do with the nationality. So a person can be a Spanish person and live abroad for 10 years, and then he returns back into Spain, and he can also apply for the Beckham law. What is the main benefit of this special tax system is that only income from the Spanish source are taxed in Spain, with the exception of the job income. So job income, the rule is worldwide job income. So this person, for instance, the person that came here the 12th of May today, and he came from the United Kingdom, as he will become tax resident in 2025. So for the year 2025 calendar year, from 1 January 31 December, he will be taxed in Spain for the worldwide income, which means the income from the UK and the income from Spain, but job income, worldwide job income. And the rest of the income only will be taxed in Spain if the income is from a Spanish source. For instance, if this person has a flat in Spain and he receives income from the rentals, this income will be taxed in Spain. But if that person has a flat in the United Kingdom and this flat is rent, so the income from that flat will not be taxed in Spain. And this is the main benefit. And the second is that the tax rate is a flat tax rate, so it's not a progressive one, and as the normal personal income tax at 24%, and from income under 600,000 euros. After that number, he will be taxed at 47%. And this system is applicable for the first year of when you arrive into Spain and the following 5 years. And the option to apply is by using a tax form. It's form 149, and you should apply within the 6 months after your arrival to Spain. And which is what kind of individuals of which can benefit from that system? If we go to the following picture, we can see which, please. Can we go further with the pictures? No?
Hello.
Second, please.
No? Okay. Oops. This one. So who can benefit from the BECAM? So non-residents in the previous 5 years, and so we have six cases. So from employees, digital nomads, directors of or member of the board of Spanish entities, freelancers that are working in R&D projects, or highly qualified entrepreneurs or simple or entrepreneurs. So if we go further to the next picture, so employee, who is an employee? An employee is a person that works in Spain, because you need to be physically in Spain, that works for a company that is a Spanish company or a foreign company. If you work for a Spanish company, the person, the individual, needs to be registered at the social security system as employee. And if you work for a foreign entity, you need to be registered in the social security of the country of the employer. Sorry. This apply for European people. If you are in the same system that you are working for a foreign entity, but you are an employee for a company that is not in the European Union, you will be treated, if you are working here in Spain with by telematic means, you will be a digital nomad. Okay, in that case, you also need to remain in the social security of Spain or a social security abroad, but never you can be a self-employee. Okay, so employees and digital nomads needs to be employees, not self-employee, because self-employees are not allowed to be under that system. The third case is if you are appointed as a director or a member of the board of a Spanish entity. In these three cases, the reason behind you came to Spain is because you have received an offer from a Spanish employee, or you have been appointed to be a director of your employee has transferred you to Spain. Okay. And in the other picture, in the following picture, there's another 3 cases for self-employees. But these self-employees should be under these special systems. So entrepreneurs, but not all of the entrepreneurs, only the entrepreneurs that they are doing in Spain innovative nature. So the activity in Spain will needs to be innovative. How to prove that your this activity is an innovative one? Because you need a positive report of the Oficina Económica y Comercial or by la Dirección General de Comercio Internacional Inversiones. So you need to do a business plan of your activity, and then these administrations will evaluate if your activity is innovative or not. In the case of a positive report, you can work as a self-employee. The second issue is if you are working as a highly qualified entrepreneur. In that sense, you need to work for a company, a Spanish company that is newly incorporated, with an age of 5 years or 7 years if the company works in biotechnology, energy, or industrial sectors. This company should not be listed, and the person who works, the highly qualified entrepreneur, should be a graduate or a postgraduate in any university abroad. And the last one is they are also freelancers, but working in the R&D domain, and they can mix their activities with R&D with professional or employment income. The rule for this person is that more than 40% of the total business should be professional or employment income. And the application of the special tax system, so usually is 6 months. So according to the different cases, so 6 months if you are employee is 6 months once you are registered as a social security as a employee, or 6 months since you have been appointed as a director, or 6 months when you have the A1 certificate for you transfer from your origin country to Spain. This system, so it's a system that you communicate to the tax office that you want to be under the Beckham law. But always the tax office has the opportunity to review in the future, in the following 4 years, that effectively you are eligible for the application of that system. So the communication doesn't mean that you have been authorized by the tax agency. Means that you can apply because you think that you are eligible, but always the tax office has the possibility to review your case. And I think that is the moment to start with the sorry. The taxation under Beckham is, as Mar explained you, so the personal income tax system in Spain has 2 ways. One way is a progressive tax rate for the job income, economic activity income, and real estate income. So in Spain, this progressive scale, depending of the region where do you live, can be from 20% until 50%. In that case, if you are under Beckham, this progressivity stops at 40%, 24%. So the tax rate is always 24%, except for the income more than 600,000 euros. The rest of the income that we call in Spain the savings income is interest, dividends, royalties, and capital gains are taxed at the same tax rates of the general or normal personal income tax, which is 19, 21, 23, 27, 28, and now is 13%. But it's only for this second is only for Spanish source income. So if you are here in Spain and you are under Beckham law and you receive a dividend from a company in France or in Germany, so the dividend will not be taxed in Spain. Okay. And there is not any more pictures. So pros and cons of the Beckham law. So which are the pros? So the main benefit is that only Spanish source income is taxed in Spain. The second is a progressive flat rate of 24%. The second one is that you only pay the wealth tax on the properties or assets located in Spain, not abroad. And if the amount of the value of that assets exceed 700,000 euros or 500,000 euros if you are in Catalonia region. And the same with the solidarity tax. And there is not obligation to file the model 720. and which are the contrasts. So is the limitation of the tax benefits of the dual taxation agreements, limitation of the deductible expenses. So if you are paying, so the social security is not possible to deduct. And if you have any pension plan, it's not possible to deduct. It's not possible to benefit for the allowances, the personal allowances that we have for children and spouses in the compared with the general taxation. And severance, severance is if you came to Spain and you work for a Spanish entity and then you get fired. So the amount that you receive as an indemnity is full tax in Spain. In the general personal income tax, the same case, if you work for a company and you receive an indemnity, this indemnity is tax exempt until 180,000 euros. So there are the contrasts. And this is a little miscellaneous that we have prepared. Is individuals under Beckham law should file tax returns in their respective country of origin? The answer is no, since there are tax residents in Spain. Only American citizens that are residents in Spain should file taxes always in the United States, because they are considered taxpayers. Foreign withholding taxes can be deductible under Beckham law. Yes, for the application of the Spanish law. For instance, if you receive a salary, so you came to Spain and you start to work for a Spanish company, and before you came to Spain, you have received a salary because you were living in UK, and you have your employee has paid your salary from January till May, and you have any withholding taxes. These withholding taxes can be deducted under Beckham law. And social security, pensions, pension plans, mortgage are not tax deductible under Beckham law. Okay, so thank you very much. And this is now the questions time.
Thank you, Mar. Thank you, Marilo. So as Marilo mentioned, now we're going to answer to all the questions that you put in the chat. So also Marilo and Mar will put in the chat their respective emails. So if you have a specific question that maybe you don't want to share in front of everybody, we can go ahead. So let's start with the first question that we received today in the chat. Just 1 second. Okay. So the first question are about investment. Marilo, our investment like a house abroad would make my main center of interest abroad, or do you refer to the main incomes of the year? So that's a question regarding be considered resident or non-resident in Spain.
Sorry, I didn't answer the question.
No, the question is, are the investment like a house out of Spain, abroad, will make my center of interest abroad, or do you refer to the main income of the year? This question is related to how to define if you are resident or non-resident in Spain. So you were talking about the main center of interest, and the question was if the fact to have a house abroad, it can be considered as a center of interest abroad, or it's related to the main income.
Okay, so if you do investments abroad, so doesn't mean that you change your tax residency. So only in the case that you have there is a conflict of residency between two countries. So one of the rules of the tie break is where you main center economic, personal, and interest. So only in that case, your income can be taken because can be taken as your main interests are in that country, but only if all the so for that, so you need to for this you need to be under a conflict of residency. So if you are living in a country and you reside in a country and you are more than 183 days, so there is not a conflict of residency. So I think, okay.
Thank you. The next question, it's what if I'm living in Spain as a resident, but I am unemployed and I only get support from my family, like €7 monthly. I am eligible to pay tax in Spain. So the question is related that if somebody is resident but is unemployed, how do you consider his situation in terms of tax residency?
First of all, I want to say sorry because I have read some message that my micro is not good. I mean that there's some echo in my sound. I will try to answer this question. The answer is no. Why? Because Grace is only receiving per year €8,400. So to be eligible to pay tax under Model 100, you need to obtain like €22,000 per year.
Thank you. Another question which is quite again related to residency. It's a person who say that he's self-employed with an auto entrepreneur status in Italy called PIVA. Where can I find information on moving to a Spanish status? How long can I keep my current activity and within what modalities or general advice? So this person is self-employed with the auto entrepreneur status in Italy called PIVA, and he would like to move to Spain, and he would like to know how long does it take to keep his current activity and within which modality he should be in Spain.
Okay, in this case, Alexandra, we have two different ways of visa. You have the entrepreneur visa and then entrepreneur or maybe self-employed visa and the digital nomad visa, okay? But about the self-employed visa, it could be some kind of difficult. So that's why that if you are a self-employed as an entrepreneur in Italy with this program called PIVA, we highly recommend to you digital nomad visa. Why? Because you can prove that you have been established in Italy, and you have activity in Italy, and you can move here in Spain with this digital nomad visa, but just if your incomes here in Spain not be more than 20% of all your global incomes.
Thank you, Mar. Just want to remind everybody who maybe join us later that we are recording this session, and we will send in a couple of days the recorded edited session plus a presentation that Mar and me has presented. So the next question, it's for a person who say, if I only work November and December in Spain in 2024, and before I work in Austria and was tax resident there, do I need to do a tax for 2024? So I repeat the question, Mar, is if this person has only worked in November and December in Spain in 2024, and before he was in Austria where he was tax resident, should he does this person need to do a tax for 2024 in Spain?
Depending on
He wants to.
No,
sorry.
Continue, please. No.
So depending on so he will be for sure a tax resident in Austria for 2024, but he has been working for a Spanish employee. Maybe he can recover the withholding taxes in Spain by doing the tax form 210. So he needs to add the Spanish salary to his Austria personal income tax. But even though if there is an excess, he can also ask for the refund in Spain.
Gracias. I have another question from Kate. She mentioned, I arrived in Barcelona in 2022 to study and start working in March 2024. The figures, importe íntegro satisfecho retenciones practicadas, mentioned in the Renta web is different from the document provided by my workplace, as my workplace has calculated from March, but in the Renta web, it is calculated from the month after I prove that I am a tax resident. What should I do? Quite complex question. Maybe I can, if you want, Mara, I can repeat, or did you get it?
I don't know. Usually, a tax office also has the right information because the tax office receives the information from the employees. So maybe is a mistake, but if this person is sure about, maybe he can do a letter, so address a letter to the tax office and saying what is correct in that case is the best.
Okay, thank you, Marilo. I have another question from Lara. I am a tax resident in Spain, but I receive an income from a punctual work collaboration from abroad. In which part of the declaration should I put this money? ¿Qué casilla? The help desk from Renta is not able to clarify this.
And depending on the nature of this money. So if you have been working as a freelance, theoretically, you should be registered in Spain as a freelance. So in that case, it will be necessary to study the whole situation of that person. So it's not possible to answer. So depending of the nature of the income abroad.
Okay. So in any case, if this person needs more clarification, please feel free to write an email to Marilo and Mar. And we can follow the next question of Article 9 say you are considered as a tax resident if any of these criteria are met, right? In my case, I changed my tax residence in October, moved to Spain with my family, and my main economic interest is now in Spain. I don't have any habitual home outside of Spain either. There is also a double taxation treaty between Spain and Poland, my previous country of tax residency. But the Spanish tax authority told me that I am a non-resident because I haven't spent 183 days in Spain, and they didn't consider the other points in Article 9. Can I argue this based on the fact that my center of vital interest clearly moved to Spain? Is it possible to be a tax resident in both countries during the same year? So it's a question of double taxation between Poland and Spain.
But he changed in October 2024. So if he changed in October 2024, probably the Poland tax administration will consider him a tax resident because of the rule of the 183 days. So probably if you want to tax in Spain, so the Poland tax authorities will consider that you are also a tax resident in Poland, so you will start a conflict of residency. So maybe the best is to, in the 2024, to consider yourself as a resident in Poland, and then in 2025 to be resident in Spain. For me, is the most easy way to resolve that.
Gracias. Sorry, I have a question from Laurent. I have an apartment in France that I am renting. the French accounting expert told me that that it has always to be declared in France for taxes. It's run through an individual enterprise. So there's a person who has an apartment in France and is renting this apartment. And according to the French accounting expert, he has to declare this in France and not in Spain. Is it correct, Marilo and Mar?
Always rentals from the apartments pay taxes in the country where the properties are located, in that case, France. But if you are a tax resident in Spain, so you should declare the income from the rentals also in Spain, but you are allowed to deduct on the Spanish personal income tax the tax paid in France, because you are a tax resident, and if you are under the Beckham, so you don't pay. But if you are in the normal system, you should pay in Spain.
Thank you. A question from Nazarke. My question is, if I'm working here only for 4 months and I'm not an EU citizen, will I get some return amount for 24% I paid, or the fact that I'm working less than 1 year has no effect for the return amount? So this person is working here only for 4 months. She's not an EU citizen, and she wants to know she can get some return amount for 24% that she has paid on, I guess, income a la fuente. Or it's not possible because she has been working less than 1 year.
So if she has been working only 4 months and she is not a tax resident and she has been withholding for the income, so he will be recovered in the country of residency through the personal income tax, because she or he can deduct the 24%. And if in the country of the residency, the tax rate is less, so she or he can recover through the tax form 210 the exceed of the withholding taxes.
Muchas gracias. So now I have a question regarding the form 720. What if the value decrease, not increase, after filling form 720 for the first time?
So only in the cases, so the obligation is to declare the first time all the assets and rights that exceed 50,000 euros at the end of the year, at the 31 December each year. And the following years, if you still continue to be a tax resident in Spain, only you declare when there is an increase of the 20% of the amount previously declared. If this 20% if decreasing is not necessary to do the tax form 720.
Fantastic. Now I have a question regarding visa student. If I have a visa student and after I have a resident, a working resident student, could I apply to the Beckham law? So this person had a visa student in Spain, and now he's got a resident permit for working, and he would like to know if she or he can apply to the Beckham law.
In that case, I'm afraid he or she cannot, because there is the criteria of the Spanish tax directorate says that if you are a student here and then you obtain a work, so this link to you are in a foreign country and you came to Spain is not met, so you cannot apply. No.
And another question related to Beckham law was if it can be applied retroactively. I think you mentioned 6 months, but can you clarify this? So to make sure that everybody...
No, it's not possible. So the most important thing is that you apply during the time of the within the 6-month period. If not, if it's not possible to apply after the deadline. No.
quick question again, Marilo. Is a pension considered as an income for the Spanish tax authorities?
A pension. So one thing is when you are contributing with money to a pension, and then when you receive the pension, when you receive the money from the pension plan, depending. So if you are Spanish, so there is a job income, okay. And if you are for another country and also you have a pension plan, so it's a job income. If you receive this money regularly, if you receive that money or the 100% of the money in one time, so it can be treat as a movable capital in the saving tax base, but depending on the pension plan. So but for sure, when you receive money for a pension, you should tax in Spain. You should be taxed in Spain. Yes.
I have another question. This person arrived in Spain in May 2024. He worked for a company. He paid 24% tax for the 2 first months as a non-resident. And then this person got a code at the tax office and paid tax as a resident for the 6 following months. Does this person need to make any change to the form now, or will they have take the change into account and refund this person the 2 first months that they paid 24% of tax?
So if she arrives in Spain in May 2024 and she was paid, I don't understand, she was withheld on a 24% as a non-resident or
Yeah, as a non-resident.
as
Yeah,
a non-resident. So probably here the employer, sorry, should withhold according your status. So if you arrive in May 2024 and you stay in Spain until December, so the company should have been treating you as a resident because you are a resident, because in 2024 you were here more than 183 days. So in that case, this person should do the personal income tax as a tax resident in Spain, pay the final tax bill, and in the case that the withholding was less or higher, he or she will pay or will have a credit tax from the Spanish tax office. Okay, it doesn't matter if the employer withholds you in a properly way. The important thing is the final tax return, because it's a personal income tax, and then the amount that the employer has withheld will be deducted for the final tax bill. Okay.
Gracias. Now a question, a very technical question regarding pension from Anna. She mentioned, are pension balance like UK SIP or Irish PRSA or US IRA included in wealth tax formulas? So I hope, Marilo, that you know what is a SIP
Yes.
for UK and Irish PRSA, because
Yes, so they are the same. So their pension plans are the same nature, our pension plans, but as in Spain, the pension plans are excluded to be included in the wealth tax. So the law is only with regard to the pension plans that has been made according to the Spanish law. So in that case, the IRA and the UK SIPP should be included in the wealth tax for the rescue value. Yes.
okay, so I have 2 questions related again to Beckham law. I think that maybe you already answered, but maybe it's good to repeat the questions. So, do you have to apply for Beckham law within the 6 months of starting work before filing the tax return the following year? or can you wait until the tax return year? So the question is, should we apply for Beckham law within the 6 months of starting work before filing the tax return, or can you wait until the tax return year?
So once that person arrives to Spain, so he arrives as an employee or as under a secondment. So in that case, so the date that you need to take is the date of the registration at the Social Security, or the date in the form A1 that allows you to came to Spain by remaining the Social Security in the country of the origin. And in the case of the board members, the date of the appointment. Okay.
Okay. Again, regarding Beckham law, I came to Spain on 19 June, but started working in a company on the 13th December. Who was supposed to apply for the Beckham law? The employers or the employee?
So in that case, if you arrive in June and you were in Spain, I don't know which kind of status as a tourist, or I don't know why you were doing here. But if you are in Spain and you obtain a work in Spain, you are not allowed to apply for the Beckham law. So when you arrive to Spain, it's because you have a work, or you have been appointed as a director, or because you have transferred from your company to Spain. But it's not possible to be in Spain, obtaining a work in Spain, and apply for the Beckham law. Okay, because this nexus is not found, is not met.
Okay. Now we have a question from Andres related to about child deduction. If we are not married, but we are unmarried couple living with our 3 children, does the child deduction apply 50% to each parent or 100% each?
Theoretically, it's 50% each, but if the children live with only one with the mother of the father, so the person where the children are living with is entitled to deduct the 100%.
Perfect. Now I have a long question from Ayo. I was granted a residence permit under the highly qualified professional category in February 2024 and officially started working with a Spanish company based in Barcelona at the end of May 2024. I have been informed that I may not have to pay income tax during my first year in Spain, but I would like to confirm whether that it's accurate and understand how the timeline for tax duties work in my case. When does my tax obligation officially begin? Is it recommended to work with a tax professional or gestor? Are there any specific benefits or regime available for highly qualified professionals, such as the Beckham law? And if so, how and when should I apply?
So sorry, I was a lot of noise. I didn't answer.
No.
So his person is a highly qualified professional.
In February 2024, and he started to work at the end of March 2024. I have been informed that I may not have to pay income tax during my first year in Spain, but I would like to confirm whether that it's accurate and understand how the timeline for tax duties work in my case. And he has 3 little other questions, which are, when does my tax obligation officially begin? Is it recommended to work with a tax professional or gestor to solve this issue? Are there any specific benefits or regimes available for highly qualified professionals, such as the Beckham law? And if so, how and when should I apply?
Okay, yeah. So always you should go with a professional or a gestor, because it's very important, because not all the cases are always so we can we can in this webinar we can explain the main highlights, but it's very important to study case by case, because it's difficult for people that is when they move in the year of the movement. It's very important. So if this person moved to Spain in March 2024, for me, and he's all in Spain until December 31, he is a tax resident in Spain. If he is in Spain with a highly qualified visa, so maybe he can be under Beckham law. But I think that unless he's under the shelter of the 22,000 euros, so he will have the obligation to make personal income tax in Spain. So because the exemption is only related with the level of the income, okay? Because he will be a tax resident.
Okay, so Ayo, feel free to contact Marilo and Mark to work on this issue. So from Leticia, again for the Beckham law, which tax form do we need to fill in under the Beckham law? So again, I think you explained it before, but maybe it's good to
So
explain
Beckham
again.
law, so the filling dates are the same of the general system. It's from 1st April till 30 June. And the tax form in that case is 151.
Okay, so again, question from Victoria. I am a tax resident of Spain. I am on the special tax regime Beckham law. I have no income in Spain. I am a housewife. I have two saving accounts, one in the Lithuanian bank Revolut, the other in the Dutch bank Bank. Both accounts have, however, an IBAN starting with ES, when opened when I was in Spain, so they are probably in the Spanish branches of these banks. So she have two questions. See the question again. It's a long text. Yes. Is the income received from saving accounts in Spanish branches of Lithuanian and Dutch banks on account with bank IBAN ES considered income received in Spain or outside? Being on a special tax regime Beckham law, do I have to file a tax return on this income or not? And the second question is, starting from what amount do I have to declare income? Do I have to file a tax return if my total income for the year was just a couple of hundreds of euros?
Okay, so if you are under the Beckham, so if you are a tax resident and you receive money from abroad, and if you are not under a Beckham law system, so and it's a couple of hundreds of euros, so it's not necessary to declare. If you are under the Beckham law, so it's not necessary to declare if the income is from a foreign entity. I don't know where they are using the ES
IBAN.
maybe it's necessary to study, because I don't know, because usually banks, foreign banks don't use ES. Maybe it's a branch, or I don't know. So
Okay, no problem. So another question, if someone has no income in the previous year, do they still need to submit the form 210 for non-residents? So the forms 210.
so if there
someone-
is not income, is not no income. Which kind of not income? If there is not income, so
in the previous year.
in the previous year. So if there is not income in the previous year, but in the year there is income, so it's necessary to do. Yes.
Okay. If you were a tax resident in Spain, September 2023, March 2024, then work in Portugal for less than 6 months before moving back to Spain July 2024, is a double taxation applied in this case, or do you only pay tax in Spain? It's a French person who has been working in Spain and Portugal who is asking this. And the second question, if there is anything I need to do regarding having work in Portugal.
So depending, so if you were a tax resident in Spain in 2023 and you moved to Portugal in 2024, so in 2024 you are not tax resident in Spain. So if you came back to Spain in July 2024, March, yeah, no, sorry. So if you moved to Portugal in March 2024 and you came back to in July, so you are a tax resident in Spain in 2024, so you need to declare in Spain. So if you have been working in Portugal for a Portuguese entity and the Portuguese entity has treated you as a non-resident, so you need to include your Portuguese salary in the personal income of the Spanish Spanish tax form, and the withholding taxes or the taxes paid in Portugal can be deducted in Spain.
Okay, so there was this.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think it's clear. I hear another question regarding the Beckham law. My Beckham law is already approved. Where to find my Beckham law registration number to use it and apply for Beckham law for spouse. In Modelo 149, número justificante M149 del contribuyente principal. The field accepts 13 characters. I'm not sure what should be filled here. It's a very specific question.
Yeah.
Person.
Yeah. So when you submit the Beckham law, so the first thing is to add the documents. So the receipt of the, I don't know, of the starting of the registration at the Social Security, the document from the employer, so a kind of document. So the first thing is that you add or you send through the website of the tax office these documents. And once you do, so you receive a receipt with a number. So this number you need to put when you do the main form 149.
Okay, so time is running. We still have 5 minutes. We still have 10 questions. I don't know if we will be able to answer all these, but we will try to do our best. In any case, if we cannot answer your question that you put in the chat, I will recommend you to send an email to Mar and Marilo directly. So here a question from a citizen from Chile. If I have a house in my origin country, Chile, do I have to declare this house in the Spanish tax declaration? I know that Spain with Chile have an agreement between, but I don't know what does it mean.
So if you have a house in Chile, so depending on, so this house can be for your entire use or rent. So in both cases, you need to declare in Spain. If you do the personal income tax, so if you receive money from the rental of that house, you need to declare in the personal income tax. If you use that house for your own profit, so you also need to pay that we call a notional income. That means that the value of the half of the value of that house, you should multiply it per 2% and then you include in your personal income tax. And the thing that we have an agreement with Chile, it means that the tax administration from Chile and Spain can be in line, and they can ask for information.
Okay, so now I have I think will be the last question that we can take, or maybe the one of the last. It's about the digital nomad visa. This person has a digital nomad visa and his wife is a dependent on this visa. The question is the following. If my wife is employed by a Spanish company, does she need to register and set up with the tax office, social security office, etc.? Or it's done by the company that is going to employing her? So the question basically is, the person has a digital nomad visa, his wife for the time being is dependent on this visa. If this person found a job, who has to take care of register this person, the company, or if she has to do something?
The company never do the registration regarding the Beckham law. It's an option of the individual, and they should do it. The only thing that if they communicate to the tax administration the application of the Beckham law, then they will receive a letter from the tax office, and this letter that they will receive at their permanent address should be transferred or forward to the human department of the employer, in order they know that you are under the Beckham and they withhold the 24%. Okay, but the option is an option from the individual.
Great. So Marilo, the last question, and it's about an employee in a Spanish institute in Barcelona since July 2024. During this time, this person is still registered as a freelancer in Austria, where this person is a tax resident. This person said, I have been told that for the economic year of 2024, I have to make a tax declaration in Austria, including declaring my Spanish incomes as an employee. Question the following. Is it the tax already deducted in my Spanish salary? Does the Spanish tax agency communicate with the Austrian?
So the communication is not automatically, so the administration has the right to communicate. But if you were Australian,
Austrian, not Austrian.
Austrian resident, so you need to include, because always when you are a tax resident, so a tax residency means that you pay in the country of the residency for the worldwide income. But in some of the cases, or in most of the cases, people receive incomes from different countries. So the different country when you receive income can be taxed as a non-resident. So in that case, you include everything, all the income in the personal income tax of the country of residency, and then pay according to the rules of this country, and then you can deduct always the amounts paid in the countries where the person is non-resident.
Okay. And his next question is, that was for 2020-24, but for 2020-25, he has to declare his tax in Spain. And what happens if he still registered in Austria because he's an Austrian autonomous status there? What should he do in 2025? Declare in Austria, Spain? Or should I apply to become, this person say, maybe an option is to become, to ask for the Beckham law.
So if you are autonomous in Austria and you move to Spain, because I think that you are doing a professional activity, you should register it in Spain as autonomous. Autonomous means that you are a little company, because you are yourself. So you need to be registered in Spain as autonomous, because your activity is done from Spain. In that case, if you are autonomous and you are not under the cases of the Beckham law, so you should be under this person should be under the normal tax system. So it's not possible to be under the Beckham. Beckham is only if this person as an autonomous is running innovative activity and has the stamp of the administration saying that this activity is as innovative one.
Muy bien. Thank you, Marilo. Thank you, Mar. I'm sorry that we couldn't answer all the questions, but let me put again the email so here, info@pomerol.es. So please, for all the people that we couldn't answer today the questions, please send an email to info@pomerol.es. And you just mentioned to Marilo or message to Mar, just mentioning that you were at this webinar. I remind everybody that we will share the recorded session and we will share also the presentation. So everybody who has been registered to this webinar will receive the presentation and the recorded session. And I saw that Marilo also put a personal email on the chat, which is mpardo@pomerol.es. So you have the info or the personal one, mpardo@pomerol.es. Thank you very much for your participation. On behalf of the City Council of Barcelona, I think that the number of questions, the number of participants show that it's a useful and interesting session. Let me remind you that in the website of Barcelona International Welcome, you will see all the activities that we're doing every month. Some are online, other are presential. And also to remind you that the 25th of October, Saturday, 25th of October, we're doing a big event at the Museo Maritim in Drassanes. It's called the Barcelona International Community Day. And you will have Mar and Marilo will be present in stands and other stands with other companies helping and informing you and as administration to inform anything about your landing. And we will also have sessions, this time physical session, presential. It's a free event, and I guess some of you already, if you registered to this webinar, you will receive the information to register in the following months. So muchas gracias. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mar and Marilo. I think it was a great, you approved with a 9/10 the exam, because you have a lot of different questions and they were very concrete, very specified, and you have been able to answer everybody. So I thank you, and would like to applaud online to congratulate for this session. Have a nice day, everybody, and thank you again for participating. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.